Hey, Destiny.
Hey.
Thank you for coming and wanting to participate and do this for me. I'm really excited to just kind of dig deep and learn about more about you because this is definitely an icebreaker
Yeah,
to
no, it is.
especially with our first time meeting. Um, so this is definitely raw and
All up in
yeah,
the open.
yeah, all of it open, all of it out there, and just really digging deep.
Yeah.
If you just want to like kind of tell a little bit about yourself and just
Yeah,
your
for
name.
sure. So my name is Destiny. I'm 24 years old. I live in Cleveland. I have a 3-year-old little girl. Um, and I'm 24 years old. I about let that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
And if you just want to kind of give us like a little bit of a layout of kind of what you were maybe as a child, like before the abuse happened, or
Yeah, so when the abuse happened, I was really, really young. It started off when I was 2 years old, with multiple, different people, um, up to the age of 15. So like, I was too young to remember at the age of 2. The abuse really started, at the age of 6, uh, to 15. So,
so like age, you say age 6 to 15, was that like consecutive years in a row that the abuse was happening,
no,
or
just with multiple people.
okay, so
Yeah,
multiple people throughout the ages
right.
of 6 through 15. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I know you said that you didn't really I know once abuse happens, and especially you said like the first time was at 2.
Mhm.
Okay, so like I'm thinking, you don't really remember, much at
No,
that
being
age.
that
Oh
young, you're
yeah.
not gonna
Oh
remember.
yeah. And if you've watched my first episode, then like I said, at the age of 5, like I don't remember my abuser's face. Like the
Mhm.
only thing I remember is that he was tall, he had dark hair, and
Yeah.
that's all I can remember about him. It's like at that age, it's especially when it comes to trauma, you just kind of like shut those memories out. It's very easy to just kind of like
Mhm.
shut it out, put it in a box, and then easily just forget about it. Um, so, do you want to kind of like maybe dive into the first time, or
Yeah. Um so when I was 2 years old, um my cousin, cuz my mom worked night shift.
yeah,
So my cousin was watching me, and so like I said, it's just what I've been told.
yeah,
Because at that age you don't remember. But so he was watching me, and he supposedly stuck a needle inside me and admitted to it. He is on the sex registry because of me.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, yeah. And being that
yeah.
young, I mean, I'm sure, it hurt me. I
Oh
mean, for
yeah, for
sure.
sure, yeah. Being
But
two
I
years
don't, I
old.
don't remember because I was so
Oh
young.
yeah, yeah.
But that was the first encounter of sexual abuse.
Okay,
Um,
yeah,
and then so so my mom, to explain it a little bit better, is in like short, is my mom, she never could keep a man, ever.
yeah,
I mean, she would jump around,
yeah,
like to man to man to man. And there was one man she had, I remember, because like I said, she always worked night shift. She was working at Duracell,
yeah,
and she trusted him to watch me. Well, I know we would normally, because like you have visions,
yeah.
like I don't remember much, but I remember visions.
Yes, the little snips
Yeah,
and bits.
yeah.
Yes.
So I remember, he would always take me to Tinsley Park to collect tennis balls. And I was
Yes.
probably at the age of 6. Like I said,
Yeah.
started around the 6th then.
Yeah.
And so he would take me to collect tennis balls. Well, after that, we ended up going back to the house, and I remember him putting on a movie, making some popcorn, and then I remember him coming back and him telling me to take off my clothes. I don't remember much from there at all. I just know from what my mom has told me was that I told her that he put white stuff in my mouth. At the age that young, you can't just make that up.
No.
You know, like it's not something you can just make up.
Especially if it's not something you're exposed to at that age.
And see, with me being that young, because like then though, you can kind of, you remember, you can remember, bits.
Yeah.
But being that young though, I don't, like, how do I explain it? Like, being that young, I don't know how people can just do that to someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like how I explained, I remember bits and pieces like visions.
Yeah.
But after that, I don't remember really anything. I don't know if he drugged me. I don't know. I just know from what my mom told me that I told her. I remember, him telling me to get naked. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so from there, I ended up going to foster care. Me and my brother, we stayed in foster care for I think up to 2 weeks. And then we weren't allowed back with my mom. So foster care sent me over to my grandfather.
Yeah.
And my grandmother, which is my dad's side. And visions there as well. I remember seeing my little brother at the end of the bed playing on a GameCube, and it was dark at night.
Yeah.
And I remember him taking my hand while in the bed with him and taking it down there.
Yeah.
He would also make me hold his penis while he urinated. Told my mom that he ended up going on the run, basically. Like, he moved to Florida after that. Really, that's it.
Yeah.
From there. And then, so after that, I ended up, in and out of therapy on medications.
Yeah.
Acting out my actions. I did at a very young age start experimenting with my brother. It's a lot to say online, but I did. At the age
that's really rough, because I can only imagine like the guilt that comes with that, and like just kind of coming to terms with.
Well, I mean, he was really young. We were like, I was very, very, very young. I mean, I was like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So like being at that age, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But I mean, with sexual trauma, you get what I mean?
Yes.
So.
Do you mind if I ask how old your brother was?
Yeah. So I think he's 2 years younger than me.
2 years younger, yeah.
So I was 7 when it started, maybe 7. He was 5. Yeah. And so I ended up, going into sexual therapy and getting put on ADHD medicine at a very young age.
Yeah.
And then, so from there, I know it's about sexual abuse, but to like get more further into it.
Yeah.
Like I lived with my mom for a while. Like I said, choosing boyfriends and things like that. We ended up, I ended up beating her. I did at a very young age, because that's how I would act out my actions. Like I couldn't communicate. I tried. I would like write her letters, things like that. Like I did
the exact same thing.
Like I
was terrible at
communicate
communicating
with her
Yeah.
without her yelling or like not understanding. Like it's just a lot, for a
Oh
child.
yeah.
So I ended up going to my first mental hospital at the age of, I think, question 8, maybe.
Oh my gosh.
I was in Peninsula for a while, and then I ended up getting out, and then uh, I think my second one, I ended up going to Valley for a little bit, and then my third one, which they were going to send me to state's custody until I was like, I think 20, 21.
Yeah.
We were lost my train of thought. But no. So we were yeah, no, so I went to Hermitage Hall. Sorry, I literally
No,
lost my
you're
train of
good.
thought for a
You're good,
second. Like,
girl.
I really did. Like,
I'm literally the same way because I also have ADHD. So
yeah,
I know, like, your
no.
brain just beat.
But no, I ended up going to Hermitage Hall at the age of, I think, 11 to 12.
Yeah.
And I was in there for a whole year. And
Yeah.
I learned, oh my goodness, like you're talking about like a lot of bad stuff, like a lot of bad stuff. So I ended up getting out of there, which there's more, to that, but I ended up getting out of there. My mom was still with the same boyfriend that would lay his hands on me and take our medications and sell them, and just, and so there was one time we really got into it. I ended up taking my grandmother's vehicle and wrecking it, trying to get to the school to tell them what was going on.
Oh my gosh.
I did. Ended up going to jail, like juvie, but they couldn't keep me because I was on so many medications.
Yeah.
Like, I was not crazy. I just, like, I mean,
when
you're a kid,
yes,
and you have so much going on. That's what I tried to explain, and like that's what also therapists has told me. Is like when you're a kid and when so many things are happening to you, you can't communicate well. So the way to communicate is acting out your actions.
Yes.
So that's what I did.
And I know, sorry to interrupt you, but I know when I was going through everything, and I had finally told, and we had to go through the whole like CPS thing and all of that. But I remember sitting down with somebody, and they were talking about like we had to take like this anger management like test type thing.
Yeah.
And I remember them like suggesting that I needed to go to anger management because like I just from what you were saying, like going through all that trauma, it just fills you with so much rage and just like absolute hate, really, just for the world and everything around you, because it just feels so unfair that all of these things are happening to you and it's just completely beyond your control. There's nothing that you can really do about it, and especially when it's the ones closest to you, like a family member or something like that, like you were saying, like it's especially hard to tell then because you never know how your family's going to react. I know I used to like rehearse telling my mom in the mirror, just rehearsing in the mirror, telling her, because I never knew, because the man that was doing it, because the man that was doing it was someone that she really deeply loved, and I just never knew how she would react to that. And there was just always the doubt, of course, but like you were saying.
Yeah, and like I said, and I know this, this podcast that you're doing
Yes.
is more about sexual abuse, but to get to where, because like it happened, throughout by multiple people.
Yes.
So like I have to kind of like break it down, a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, there's a whole timeline to get to those. Yes.
So I ended up going to juvie, but they could not keep me because I was on so many medications.
Yeah.
Like I think I was on 12 different medications at such a young age.
Now, instead of going to juvie, do they have to like just send you to a mental?
No. So when I got out of juvie, my mom just actually ended up giving me to my dad. She was like, I can't handle it anymore. So she ended up
Yeah.
giving me to my dad. I stayed with my dad for a good while. Um, and I did good for a while. Um, and then I kind of, made small step backs. I had a lot of anger. So I would
Yes.
like, rage or, which I'm also diagnosed with, bipolar disorder. So like my moods, is all over the place
Yeah.
anyways. And from being on, so many medications, I eventually kind of just was like, I'm not doing that. Like
Yeah.
I'm done with the medication.
Yeah.
Um, and so now, fast forwarding, this is the most traumatic one that will, I may honestly cry a little bit because, like, I don't really talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was 15. Really, actually, I was about 14, almost 15, and so my stepmom's niece, we became really, really close. She was a lot older than me.
Yeah.
And I looked up to her, being at that young age, I looked up to her. And, well, at such a young age, she was the one that got me into drinking, smoking, hanging out with all these guys. She would take me, at 2 o'clock in the morning and leave me in her car while she goes and, has sex with men.
Oh my gosh.
Like it was really traumatic, but I looked up to her.
Yeah.
And like being young too, you don't really realize, you know what I mean?
Yeah. If that person you're really
Yeah.
close to, it's you
Yeah.
almost kind of like don't even see the bad parts of
Mhm.
them. You only really mainly focus on those good parts.
Well, there was one time at the age of 15, she she wanted to pimp me out. Okay. Didn't really know what was going on. I was a virgin.
Yeah.
So she pimped me out in her bedroom with a hairbrush. She almost popped my cherry. I told her to stop. She ended up messaging this one guy online and said, "You're gonna lose your virginity." So me being young and with all the trauma and thinking back though, I can't really remember exactly how I was thinking, but so fast forwarding back, she she ended up messaging this guy. I don't remember what he looked like when we picked him up because I do know the color of his truck. It was green.
Yeah.
I know she got a quilt from the back of her back seat. We went like 2 o'clock in the morning. She told him that I was 18 years old, and she laid that quilt down in Chilhowie, and he put on a condom, flipped me over onto like my back, and stuck it in, and took my virginity. I instantly started crying, and I pushed him away, and I was like, I can't do this. Um, so uh, he stuck it out, and I remember vividly she took off the condom and had sex with him while I'm just standing there bleeding.
Oh my god.
And no one actually knows like the traumatic, like how traumatic it really was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like I trusted her. But right after they ended up having sex, I told her. I remember telling her I was like, I'm hurting, and she called me a wimp. And we ended up, taking him back to his car. I ended up falling asleep in the back seat. Well, when we got there, she told me to immediately take a shower, and she threw some Tylenol at me.
Oh my gosh.
Like the amount of pain that I was in, and not knowing exactly what happened. You know what I mean? Like being young. Like do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, you can get going.
So I ended up going to bed, and I ended up waking up in the morning, and I was like, I gotta go home. She takes me home. I had therapy that morning, and I ended up telling my therapist. Detectives got involved. Till this day, my stepmom basically threatened me, said that I would be grounded. Yeah, because it was her niece, told me to tell them that it was consensual. Yeah, so the guy got off, she got off, and I've not talked to her since.
So this man is just like still walking around out there.
Yeah.
That is terrible. I am
And the
so
fact too,
sorry.
I trusted her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
No, I totally get
I was
that.
so beyond close with her, and I trusted her. And the
And
fact
that's
that
exactly
she,
what it takes is them just gaining your trust. And it's
mm-hmm,
sad because we're so and
was,
we're easily influenced by people at that age because it's so easy to just not really see the bad in people.
mm-hmm.
And
And
which
when
is
you're a kid
really
too, and
weird.
being that young, you're not.
Yeah.
The children's brain, you see nothing but good
Yeah.
until physical pain happening to you. But
Yeah. But even then, because like, especially when it comes to like family members, like my main abuser was my stepfather at the time. And it was so easy for it to go from, oh my God, I absolutely hate this person and wish he was never around. And then the abuse would stop. And then suddenly my mom would be home and everything would be normal. And we were
mm-hmm.
a happy family. And it was so hard for my brain to just understand really and comprehend how we just went from like this really terrible thing happening to suddenly everything's okay and he's like this perfect person again and everyone loves him and it was just
It's
very
so great to put on a
confusing.
mask and act like
Yes.
everything's okay. And I think that's
And
one
then
thing that.
it almost it shows you how to put on a mask
Mm-hmm.
and how to just act like things are completely normal and things are fine and nothing bad has happened at all because they just so easily do it and
Yeah.
you notice it and it's very easy to
And
get to
see,
that.
what really hit me the most too is the fact that like my stepmom knew. Like I told
Yeah.
her like she knew it wasn't consensual.
Yeah.
But the fact though she didn't want her niece to get in trouble and she would choose her over me, like it's heart wrenching to look back on because like I mean when you're young and you've already gone through trauma and you're going through stuff like you expect them to be your trust.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you expect them to keep
Yes.
you safe and never put you in something like that. But yeah, that one's the probably most traumatic because it was something supposed to be special to me, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it was traumatic. Like I don't remember really the pain or like what it really. I know it hurt really bad. Like I said, I
Yeah.
told her it hurt, and she called me a wimp.
Through
But I
freaking
don't
God.
remember.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those days she's off. The girl was crazy though. To look back on it, she was crazy.
Honestly, to do something like that, yeah, she's freaking crazy. Like
Because I mean, the
nothing is
stuff that she
sane
would do.
about that. Yes.
But still like being, and I think too, not a lot of people talk about is also when you are so young and you have sexual abuse or any type of trauma happen to you, it
It if
takes a piece of your brain.
it does.
Like
And
that's the best way to
it
explain it.
truly affects your sexual relationships in the future.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you have a very weird relationship with sex in general. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no, I totally get
And
that.
and see, it's not even just her too. It's the fact too, like, my grandfather and my cousin and my mom's boyfriend, like all those in one. I mean, it messes you up.
Yes.
It makes you not be able to trust another person.
Oh yeah.
Um, And so for years, I think that's another reason why I like acted out my actions, because I didn't know how to communicate.
Yes. I was very like, I know when after I told about my abuse, and it's it's almost like you I went in, well, for me anyways, I just kind of like went into this shutdown, and I didn't talk to anybody about my problems, and like I didn't want my mom knowing how depressed I was. And um if I did want to talk to her, like you said, I would like write letters because I didn't know how to express in words how I was feeling, and I've never really been shown that. And so even as an adult
Mm-hmm.
now, it's incredibly difficult trying to
Yeah,
communicate and express myself.
yeah, and a lot of people too, like they'd be like, "Oh, just forget the past." It's not that easy.
No, it
When
is
something like
not.
that happens to you, it
It's
carries
stuck
with
with you
you.
forever.
Yeah.
Especially in it with any like especially like a traumatic experience like that. You form PTSD, and like any like scent, any auditory thing, any visual thing can immediately just take you back to a random
Well,
moment.
and
You
see,
never
that's the
know
thing
it.
too. When all you know really is sexual abuse and things happen to you, you seek sexual stuff in other people. Like
Yes.
growing up, that
Yes.
like people would always wonder, like, oh, why are you so boy crazy? Why you want this? Why you want that? Well, I
That is
wonder
the
why
only
in a
way I
sense.
only ever
Yeah.
got attention.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like it's crazy to look back on, because like it's like, you know, like I couldn't could it I could have got myself out of that situation, but being that young and trusting her,
Yes.
I don't know. It's crazy because like I don't remember a lot of, like I remember bits and pieces and like a lot of the bad stuff, but I don't really remember actually the good.
Yes.
Like it's so weird.
I totally get that. Like I
It's like
go
my
back,
brain just like blanked out all the good things that really happened, and like that's all I
I
remember is the
totally get
bad.
that. Uh, I totally get that because I'm the same way. Like there's so much of my childhood it feels like I've just completely forgotten because so much of it felt just negative, and so much negative was happening at that
Yeah.
time that like even the good faded out with all the bad memories that I stored just all the way in the back. So I just wouldn't really remember it.
It's
And
weird.
it's crazy because even sometimes like I'll have a family member or a friend like come up and tell me about an old memory, and I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah,
when did that
I'm
okay,
I'm
yeah,
the
I
same
remember that
way.
happening.
Or like my grandma, she'd be like, "You remember her? You remember her? No, I
I
don't.
don't actually
No, I
know.
don't. I don't remember her."
I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Like
I
it's
get that.
weird because like all I really remember is the bad. Like I
Yeah.
don't know if it's because my brain has just like been wired to just remember the trauma.
Yes.
I don't know. I I don't know.
Yes. No, I get that.
But yeah.
And so was that like the last?
Yes. Well, after that I had trouble with relationships.
Yes. No,
I did be,
completely
because like
understand that.
seeing my
Yeah.
mom, like I'd say around 17, 18, I started to jump around with guys a lot. Like I hoed
Yep.
around a lot. Like my body count skyrocketed.
And you know what?
Um,
I also went through the same thing, and I try to like look back and kind of like give myself grace on that because we were freaking going through puberty, and we were like hormonal teenagers, and that was just
mm-hmm,
normal stuff that even if the abuse didn't occur was going to happen anyways.
right.
So yeah, no, I get that. And just the guilt that comes with it because you were sexually abused, and there's almost like this stereotypical norm of, oh well, they were sexually abused so they should be absolutely repulsed by sex. And in a sense, like I do have my moments where I am repulsed by it,
Mm-hmm.
and I just have like no sexual desire in my body whatsoever.
I'm the same way.
But then there's also like the super hypersexual moments, and I know like there's times in those moments too even where I almost like kind of like feel disgusted that I'm so hypersexual, and then it just kind of like clicks off. It's almost
No,
like a
I'm
switch.
the
It's
same
like,
way. Like
yeah,
I have my days, you know, like either I can like feel like I'm gonna jump your bones,
yeah,
and then the
yeah.
other days I'll be like, you know, I'll be like, I don't even want it.
I
So
don't even want
I
to think
get
about
it.
it. Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. So I know another thing I wanted to go over is like when I first had, I know you have a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first had a daughter, I know I dealt with a lot of anxiety of having sexual trauma, and especially having it as a kid, of just being absolutely terrified that something may happen to her and be completely beyond my control. And with co-parenting as well, and they go over to their co-parents house, you're just, there's this anxiety of like you're not
Oh
there and
no,
you don't know what's
definitely.
happening, and like that's nothing against them whatsoever. It's just that anxiety that comes with, you can't be there like for every second and see
No,
what's going
I
on.
get like
And
that all the time. I mean, I'll have my days where I mean, I'll sit and I'll think about it, you know, and I'll dwell on it, and
yes,
it like eats me alive because, you know, I know, you know, I can't always be there to protect her.
yes,
I want to say I can, but that's not reality.
no,
I'm not going to be able to. I mean, when she hits that age, you know, what happened to me, I mean, she could, you know, be, you know, you know what I
yes,
mean?
like,
So,
yeah,
I mean, it's just not reality.
I
But it is
know.
definitely scary.
Oh, for sure. And like I know I've always wanted to be like very transparent with her about, like body parts and body
Oh no, I've already
anatomy. Yeah,
started on
yeah,
her
yes,
what
yes,
not to
girl.
touch and what, you know,
Yes.
to touch. Oh no,
And
she knows.
yes, and like don't keep secrets from mommy, and
Mhm.
yes, girl,
No, I tell
because
her all the time. I say if somebody touches you anywhere that they're not supposed to touch you, you tell mommy, and she
yes.
knows.
Yes.
That's rule number one. Of
And I
what
mean, it's
I've tried to
sad.
teach her.
It's really sad that we have to be like that and we have to do that, but
It's a
those
very
were
scary world.
things that
Very scary
did
world.
not happen for us. And so I feel like if it would have been more of a discussion and a talk.
Definitely in depth.
Okay, so we can go.
Yeah. So we're back. But what were we talking?
We were talking about fear of having a girl, and
Here,
yes,
right? Yeah. Okay. You got a good memory.
yes. I mean, well, slightly.
Yeah, slightly. um. Yeah. So when I found out I was having a daughter, I was very, very scared. Um, because like I don't ever want something that happened to me happen to her.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I've, you know, began to realize too, it's family.
Yes.
Like it's more family that does things that they're not supposed to than friends.
Yes.
And that's very sad to say, but um, yeah, it's just is something very serious to talk about because like it is very scary.
Yes.
And that's really all I can like. It's very scary.
Yeah.
Serious. Like I'm not because like I wanted when I okay so when I got pregnant and I had her, I wanted to, you know, be the one to homeschool.
Yes.
I was like, I'm going to homeschool her. But, you know,
Yes.
me being a single mom and dealing with what I'm dealing with now, I'm just physically not going to be able to. And it is so scary.
Girl, I
Because she
know.
goes to
And there's
school
so
next
much
year.
happening in like
I'm
public
so
schools
scared.
now lately. It's just so scary. Yeah, no,
Well,
I
I
get
mean,
it.
just this generation now,
Yeah.
kids, I mean, it
Yes.
is bad.
Kids are brutal.
And the school shootings and this and
Oh no,
that. And
yeah,
it's
for
just
sure.
like, you can't ever catch a break. So just trying to figure out, you know, what's the best. to do.
Yeah.
And I wanted to homeschool, but I physically I'm not gonna be able to. So,
Yeah, no, I get that.
and that's where everything's gonna begin. And I'm just scared.
Now, I know one thing, like when I was a kid, I don't know if you had kind of like the same experiences, but I felt like I kind of had things together as far as like my grades, and I felt like I was going places and I was gonna go to college and already have, my career set and just have my life together. And then I know, like, finally becoming an adult, I know as a teenager, I felt like I had it all together, and then, becoming an adult, and then you have all the added responsibilities, like when you have kids, and then you're trying to work through past childhood traumas and trying to heal from those, and trying to heal from things you honestly had never thought of when you become a parent. Like emotional regulation, and just having to understand that they're kids, and having to heal parts of ourselves of, traumas that we have from our own parents. And
Yeah.
just there's just so many different things that people don't tell you about when you become a parent, and just so many, honestly, just a lot of work that has to be put in, and even more work when you do have sexual abuse trauma, because then you have to push past those thoughts of, well, what if it happens to my child, and then having, these run over scenarios of
Yeah.
what would happen, what would I do, like, because nothing really truly prepares you for something that could happen like that. And I know having my own child now has made me, like, extremely cautious of all the things, and have all the worry and all the anxiety, and, like, that's my baby, and I don't want anything to ever happen to any of them. And but yeah, I don't know if you've experienced that, but
No, that's
yeah,
see when you asked me before. No, definitely, I
yeah,
get like that. Like I feel that 100%.
yes,
Um, it is very scary because, like, when they do get older, you're not gonna be able to fully be there all the time.
oh yeah, for sure,
Um, I would hate to ever get that phone call
for sure. And I
or
can't even
her tell me.
imagine.
Like I would hope she would at least tell me.
Yes,
But I hope that never happens
yes,
because
and
I would
like,
definitely smile on my mugshot.
and now as,
That's what don't even make any sense to me
yeah,
either. Like
that
my
for
mom,
real, for
like
real,
my
girl. That's what I
mom,
say. That's what my clean
like
record's for, baby.
looking back, dead serious. I don't know how my mom did not beat the living
Girl,
crap out of all
I
those
know.
people.
I mean, I'm thankful that my mom, like,
Like, don't get
immediately
me wrong, though.
went to
I
the
mean, like I
police, but
said, I mean, with my mom, she's not fully here in the head.
yes,
Like she does have a lot of issues as well.
yes,
Um, and past trauma for hers. Um, I feel like I'm saying a lot, but
yeah.
but
You're good.
I would just had like the biggest brain fart. No, I did not. So going back to talking to about moms, um, being a parent myself, I don't know how she didn't take any action.
Yes,
I don't know how she dealt with that because if I would have got that phone call or my daughter coming to me telling me,
yes,
I would have definitely lost it. Being a child, like, and I'm being okay, so being a parent myself
yes.
and like going in depth, like changing her or taking care of her. Like, could you imagine being so young
I
and
couldn't, and I,
going through something like that?
for sure.
That you having to physically hold down a baby as they're screaming and crying.
And that is something that I always, like, think back at, is like, I just don't I can't understand, because even someone just being 18 years old just is like way too young for me. I'm like, I'm about to be 25. 18, that is still a
Yeah.
teenager, bro. That is a teenager to me. There is no way I could ever
Well, and if you think
be with
about it
someone that young.
too, when you're that young, your brain is not at its full capacity.
It's no.
So you
I
can't
was so
actually
naive at
consent.
18. Yes.
Like you can't. Like it's
Yes.
just not physically possible, you being that young.
Yes.
And like I said, like I don't know, I think that's why I hold so much grudge to my mom, because like how could you physically let that happen?
Yes.
And I mean, I've talked about her, you know, I'm not gonna lie, like I brought it up to her once or twice, and I mean, I think the first two times she like shut down.
Yeah.
The very last time, you know, we kind of had a heart one-on-one, and she told me, you know, that she didn't mean for any of that to happen, you know, that she had to work.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, everyone's got to work,
Yeah.
but, and I know, you know, the whole cousin situation and your boyfriend, like you don't ever physically think, oh, you know, he's gonna
Something
hurt,
like that
yeah,
could
something like that's
happen.
gonna happen.
Yes.
But there is precautions, like I could
I
never.
know it's made me a lot more of an aware parent of
Yeah.
who I trust around my children, knowing that like literally it could be anyone, from just my own
Yep.
past experiences, and just knowing like you just can't trust anybody
No.
with your child anymore. And even with family members, you have to be cautious. So I totally get that, dude.
And like, you know, like I say, going back, like being a parent, you just don't think something like that would happen. But when it does, I think that's where me and my mom is different. Like,
Yes.
I don't know genuinely what she was thinking.
Yeah.
Like, how can you just let it roll off your back?
Yeah.
And no.
Yes.
No. Like, I'm sorry, but I would literally be like smiling
Yeah.
in my
In my
mugshot.
mugshot, yeah, girl. I
Dead
say every
serious.
day that's what my clean record is for somebody to mess with my kids, because guess what? I'm going to prison.
And
Like,
see, that's where looking back on, like, some parents just, I mean, some people are just not made to be parents.
no,
Like, they're just not.
definitely not. No.
Um, and some people are.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. I'm like, you know, I've said it for a long time. Like, I'm just breaking the generation, you know, line of generation curses.
Yes.
Like, everything that I've gone through and dealing with. Like, my mom's, okay, so my mom is a really, really bad yeller.
Yes.
Like, all she does is yell. So, and I can't stand it.
Yeah.
Because growing up, you know, that's what I dealt with.
Yeah.
But, you know, with me being a single mom and I'm staying with her,
Yeah.
you know, she yells at my kid. And it's trying to talk to her is like kind of talking to a wall. I mean, we're doing a little bit more better, but it's just like she'll do good for like a day or two, and then it'll do the same stuff.
Yeah.
But the fact though that, you know, we had to go through it, me and my siblings, and now you're putting my daughter through it, like, no. And that's why we, you know, but most of our heads, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we bump heads the most, because,
Yes.
you know, to my kid, like, you don't yell at her,
No.
you know, you
Yeah.
don't be, you know, physical with her. You let me know if anything.
Yes.
But, you know, her parenting is different than my parenting, and I've tried to tell her that I was like, okay, you parented us, you're just the grandparent, let me parent.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, she's my kid, let me parent.
Yes. And that's another
Your
thing,
parenting
is
is
like
over.
learning how to
And
be able to set boundaries even with your own parents
and
when it
see,
comes
I
to your
realized too, though, a
children.
lot of grandparents, they think that this is like a second,
Child for them,
well,
basically.
yeah, like a
Yeah.
second choice.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
A second
Like,
chance at
yeah,
parenting.
there you go. Second
Yes.
chance at parenting. And
Yes.
it's not.
No.
It's not. Like, you had your chance.
Yeah.
This is our kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
no, I
know.
understand
I mean,
that.
my brain though is like so like I catch myself all the time like zoning out
Yeah.
because like half of the time I don't know. I guess like trauma and depression and all that. So I'm diagnosed with PTSD.
Yeah.
So and I catch myself like I said like I'll catch myself zoning out for
Yeah.
like no reason. And half of the time I don't even really feel like I'm here. I just feel like I'm just here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, no, I get that
So like,
100%.
but come to find out it's trauma.
Yeah.
That's trauma.
Literally. Literally.
Literally trauma.
Yeah, no.
No, I could go in depth of everything that I've gone through, but on my sexual trauma, it definitely, honestly, I think messed me up the worst though, because like, you don't ever think something like that could physically happen to you,
Yeah, for sure.
especially people you trust.
Yes. Well, thank you for
Yeah,
coming and talking about this
definitely.
because I know,
I'm
no,
sorry if I
girl.
was a little awkward. Um, I
I
mean, I
know.
have a ring light.
Yeah, this ring
It
light
is
is so bright. Yes, it is so bright.
It is so
Um,
right.
but I know this is like, it's such a hard topic to talk about. So I'm really glad that I can kind of
And
be a platform to like just make it a safe space to just talk about it and open up and not feel any judgment.
yeah, and this
and
is
just,
awesome for you
yes.
because like it could reach so many others out there that are battling the same thing, you know.
Yes. Yes.
And not many people. You don't see many really people do this.
No,
So
for sure.
it's definitely different, and I hope this reaches people that are battling the same thing.
Yes. And that, people understand that just because it happened in your childhood does not mean that it does not still affect you as an adult, and affect you in your daily life, and has, the reoccurring memories that come with the PTSD and just struggling with that. So I hope that this reaches someone out there, that has maybe went through something similar that she has, or who has just had some similar experiences, or just her story in general helps you understand that you are not alone and that it is okay to tell, and even just getting it, like we were talking about, just getting it off your chest and just
Yeah. And
openly
even if you
talking
can't
about
even
it.
just talk about it, I mean, there's also, journaling.
Yes, like we were
Journaling.
talking about, when you're terrible
Yeah.
at putting your feelings into words, it's so
Write
good
it
to just
down.
write it down. Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. And I'm so excited.
Definitely.
Oh, but thank you guys. And just like, subscribe. Thank you so
And
much.
thank you for
And
having me.
thank you so much.